And that is a very different question. One that I would challenge you to sit with and ask yourself. Because I think many women reach that moment quietly. And it's not because they're lazy or they lack ambition. It's because success and alignment are not always the same thing. Welcome to the Bounce Back Black Woman podcast. I'm Dell, coach, author, mom, and your sister along this journey of healing, growth, resilience, and living more intentionally. As Black women, we know all too well that life can break our hearts in more ways than one. But here in this space, we heal, grow, rebuild, and bounce back together. Because it's not just you. It's not just me. It's us. Hey there, my friend, and welcome back to Bounce Back Black Woman. Today's episode is for the woman who's been carrying the weight of a dream, a goal, a relationship, or even a version of herself that no longer feels aligned. But she keeps trying to force it because she thinks that letting go means failure. And I want to say this right at the very beginning. Not every unfinished goal is failure. Some things evolve. Some things redirect us in a new direction. And some things were only meant to carry us through a particular season of our lives. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely believe in persistence. I believe in resilience. I believe in commitment. I believe in perseverance. So much so that I have it tattooed on my right shoulder blade. And you all already know this podcast is proof of that. There were many moments where it would have been easier to just stop, give up. Moments where growth felt slow. Moments where I questioned whether anybody was even listening at all. And yet here we are, over 100 episodes later. My book is finally becoming real. My vision is expanding, and I'm grateful that I didn't quit. But at the same time, there are other things in my life that I'm deeply grateful that I walked away from. And to be honest, this podcast might not have been possible had I not walked away from the things that didn't rise to the level of being necessary to persevere. And that is what I want to talk to you about today, because wisdom is knowing what deserves your persistence and what deserves your release. You see, my friend, we live in a culture that glorifies hustle almost to an unhealthy degree, because everybody and everything and everywhere is telling you, keep pushing, never quit, grind it out harder, want it more. And while discipline absolutely matters, don't think that I'm saying that it doesn't. Sometimes that messaging creates shame around changing direction or abandoning an idea, especially for women, because many of us were taught, finish what you start, don't disappoint people, don't waste time, and don't waste your potential. And because of those things, we stay committed to things long after they stop bringing us peace or purpose or alignment. And honestly, sometimes we don't even realize that we've outgrown something because we're so busy trying to prove that we can actually succeed at it. I felt that in corporate America for years. Now, let me be clear. I was good at what I did. Very good. I climbed and I achieved. I led. I earned degrees. I built credibility. But eventually, I had to sit with a hard truth. Was I still pursuing that path because it genuinely filled me up? Or was I pursuing it because I had simply become successful inside an identity that no longer fit who I was becoming? And that is a very different question. One that I would challenge you to sit with and ask yourself. Because I think many women reach that moment quietly. And it's not because they're lazy or they lack ambition. It's because success and alignment are not always the same thing. And honestly, this applies to relationships too. Because some relationships look wonderful on paper. They are Instagram worthy. Because that person might be accomplished and attractive and emotionally available or not, financially stable, spiritually compatible. And yet something still feels unsettled in your spirit about it. I've had moments where I realized this relationship technically works, but it isn't nourishing me emotionally. Or moments where I'm trying to force connection because I want it to work so badly, not because it naturally brings peace into my life. And that, my friend, is hard to admit, especially when you've invested time or when you care about the person deeply, and especially when you've already imagined a future with that person. But sometimes maturity sounds like something very different. Sometimes maturity sounds like this no longer aligns with the life that I truly want. And my friend, that's not failure. That's discernment. And in either case, personal, work, fitness, health, emotional goals, I want to talk about the difference between quitting and intentionally releasing, because they're not the same thing. Quitting is most of the time reactive to an external trigger or event. Quitting is emotional and quitting is impulsive. But intentional release usually comes after the things that we so need, like reflection, prayer, experience, exhaustion, growth, and ruthlessly intentional honesty. It comes from realizing I don't want to spend another 5 years forcing this thing that no longer feels aligned to my spirit and my soul and my heart. Sometimes God is asking us to persevere, and sometimes God is trying to gently redirect us, but we keep dragging dead expectations into new seasons. And that is why Ecclesiastes 3:1 hits differently as you mature. And if you don't know, Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season. Not some things, not the convenient things, not the glamorous things, everything. To everything there is a season. And maybe part of healing is accepting that. Accepting that some dreams belong to an earlier version of you. Not because they weren't real, not because you failed, but because you evolved. I want to talk for a minute about pivoting without the shame. One of the books that really impacted me is named or called Pivot, and it was written by an author named Jenny Blake. It was gifted to me by a work colleague that I'm no longer really connected with, but she'll always hold a special place because she taught me this lesson by giving me this book. The reason that I love the concept so much is because she talks about the fact that pivoting doesn't mean your prior path was meaningless. It means that you're now responding to new information, new wisdom, new priorities, new seasons. And my friend, that is life in a nutshell. Honestly, I think many women break their own hearts by way of letting go of a dream because they keep trying to force themselves to remain loyal to a version of themselves that no longer exists. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to want something different in a new phase of your life. You are allowed to redefine what success looks like, and you are allowed to choose peace over performance. And so today, my friend, I just want to leave you with this question. What are you still forcing simply because you're afraid that letting go of it will look like failure? Sit with that in the quiet and the private. Pray about that to God, your higher power, your inner wisdom. Journal about that, because maybe the next chapter of your life isn't waiting on more hustle to grind it out to get to that goal that you set a long, long time ago. Maybe it's waiting on honesty. And as you do all of those things, as always, I want you to remember that it's not just you. It's not just me. It's us. Well, that's it for today, my friend. I really hope this episode inspired, encouraged, or just plain comforted you. If so, please share it with a friend who might be struggling in her own healing journey. And if you take a moment to leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, you'll help other women find encouragement through their heartbreak. Remember that God is holding your hand along this journey, and guess what? I'm holding the other. Life is short, so bounce back, Black woman.